As we move closer and closer to the anniversary of No Man's Sky Beyond, and after 3 bite-sized updates since the launch of that update, it's time once again to talk about the next big summer anniversary update that very likely will be version 2.5. Let's get into it. Ladies, gentlemen, and fellow travelers, welcome back to the LZ. So good to have you, and sorry it's so long between uploads. But now that we've got 3 bite-sized updates out of the way since the launch of Beyond, that being Synthesis, Living Ship, and Exomech, it's time to start looking ahead to what's new and what's next, the next big thing potentially coming from No Man's Sky. One thing that I'll note right away is that No Man's Sky creators Hello Games have moved their workings out of the office and back to home, which is probably a really good thing with the big global crisis happening right now. So good on them. I'm glad they're safe, and I'm glad you're safe. And I hope you're taking all of this quarantining really well. And I'm thinking about all of you who have been affected or likely will be affected by this. But a great thing that you and me and lots of people like you and me have is a great distraction in our hobby that is playing video games and our common interest and love for No Man's Sky and other things space sci-fi related. And about a year ago, I made a video talking about the potential for what would inevitably be No Man's Sky version 2.0, aka No Man's Sky Beyond. Your boy LZ took a shot in the dark about the version number and about what can potentially come with that update. Now, obviously, I was completely right about the version number, but completely wrong about what would be in it. For me, subjectively, No Man's Sky Beyond ended up being the worst mega update of the game so far, for a myriad of reasons. It didn't offer up a content offering that I thought was substantial enough outside of VR. I am not a VR player. That is not the game's fault necessarily. And the update also ended up completely breaking the game for me when it came to terrain generation, and it didn't end up being fixed until the launch of the Living Ship update. But thinking about version numbers now and knowing that Hello Games have been working on something significant, they've said as much in all of their development updates leading up to today, I really have to say I have thoroughly enjoyed this update and communication structure. I said that before the launch of Beyond. I thought the silent and the lead up to Beyond was very, very bad. And so I'm really glad that they've returned to this sort of regular communication and droppings of updates. I very much enjoy this structure so much more, getting the smaller, more themed update and bug fixes and content changes. I have always enjoyed the smaller updates more than I did the larger ones, simply because the lead up to them was kind of painful with no communication and updates in between those things. And I think the lead up to Beyond really proved that. So now I want to talk about what's coming forward for the next big thing for No Man's Sky, because they've made it clear that they are definitely working on something. And now that we're in the 2.40 range, that puts us in the big 2.5 version number range. It's within reach. The last time that we reached a sort of half-point milestone, we got the massive launch that was No Man's Sky Next. If I had to go by which my favorite larger updates would be, Next would definitely be it. It was definitely the sweet spot as far as content, performance, graphics, and this summer, or maybe even early fall, depending on how the global crisis pans out, we're likely looking at version 2.5. Your boy LZ is calling it, and he's been right before. So now I want to talk about what I think this update should be and what it should not be. No Man's Sky has a lot going for it. It always has. It's always been the talk of the town, regardless of the positivity or the negativity of the discourse surrounding it. But for me, a longtime coverer and player of No Man's Sky, I've always had one singular thought, one missed opportunity for No Man's Sky that is rarely been scratched, this itch, and that No Man's Sky has always seemed to fail to realize its own potential. Now, No Man's Sky doesn't need to be like other AAA games. It doesn't need a linear story structure. It doesn't have to have a season pass or a battle royale or a looter shooter mechanic, even though I would really love a looter shooter mechanic. Let's be honest here. No Man's Sky has always been sort of a blank canvas that they've sort of asked you to just paint on yourself, and really that's kind of fine, but My problem is I'm lacking some paint here. Back when the Synthesis update launched, I highly praised it. As a matter of fact, it was one of my favorite smaller updates because it did exactly this. It wasn't too much of a remarkable update, but what it did introduce was something like ship customization to a degree. This is scrapping ships, upgrading ships, and giving you a little bit more agency in how you are handling the usability of your ships. Living Ship also expanded on this to a degree. It added a nice persistent carrot at the end of the stick to chase, and I really enjoyed that. Now, the No Man's Sky community is calling for quite a few different things that they would really love to have. They want a space update, they want a variation update, things like a combat update, and these are all well and good, but the fundamental problem that I have for things like a variation update is that while it might improve the minute-to-minute experience, it does very little to expand the gameplay experience of the game. Even the weekend missions is barely enough to keep players from coming back. Update 2.5 needs to be a lot more than just basic foundational things. It's time that No Man's Sky starts building upon its own foundations that it spent 3 years creating. Procedural Traveler mentioned in one of his videos about an exploration update. I think this is the best requested in just generally, because even though while it's nebulous, not only does it infer a lot more gameplay activity, a reason to chase the carrot at the end of the stick, but it massively caters to the core draw of No Man's Sky. The exploration is kind of there, but the problem is there's not really much for me to find, and well, good exploration implies that I'm out to find something significant. When I called for things like dungeon exploration and the like in No Man's Sky in my 2.0 video more than a year ago, it's updates like these that would have really driven that curiosity, that moment-to-moment gameplay, that dopamine drip of excitement that I would get for No Man's Sky that the game desperately deserves. And it's highly likely that the 3 bite-sized updates that we have gotten since Beyond is really building towards what it is that we are going to experience with No Man's Sky 2.5, so that's a little bit of a hint of what we can look forward to, likely. But this new, larger update, 2.5 for summer, what it really shouldn't be is more foundational item. No Man's Sky is definitely in the emergent gameplay genre, something a lot like Minecraft, for instance. But No Man's Sky fails at exactly what games like Minecraft gets 100% right, and ended up making Minecraft the highest selling game of literally forever. The emergent gameplay in games like Minecraft is addictive. There's always something to do, there's always something to see, there's always something that you need to go find, that there's a little bit of risk and danger in going to get. Hey, I'm gonna go hunt for some diamonds. Oh no, there's some lava, and if I fall in it, I'm dead. Then I'm gonna lose all my stuff, and then I need to trek back and get it all before it disappears. This is such a simple concept that I wish No Man's Sky had more of. No Man's Sky has no further need to look more pretty. It doesn't need more graphics changes. As a matter of fact, a lot of the No Man's Sky fans that I talked to really preferred pre-1.3 design aesthetics and things like that for the game originally, before even Atlas Rises. Even Atlas Rises was lauded for the differences between launch and its update line. No Man's Sky Beyond did a lot offering for the game as well, but again, it's still very foundational. It's rarely anything more than what you do in the base game anyway, so it lacks the draw and the incentive to play together. But it was, again, very foundational. It was just the base and nothing built upon it. Update 2.5 really needs to focus on building core mechanics, cyclical gameplay loops, and emergent gameplay tactics to keep the player playing, addicted, and just simply enhancing the overall experience. Ladies and gentlemen, comment below, what would you like No Man's Sky 2.5 to be? What should be included in the next big update? What would you like to see as part of this new update, and what is it that you would not like to see in this new No Man's Sky 2.5? If this video has been useful to your No Man's Sky learning experience and you'd like to come back for more, please do like, subscribe, comment, etc. It's good to have you around, and follow me on the Twitters at the LZ Tweets, and I'll see you in the next one.